Hey guys, it's John here from Sonic Drive Studio. Welcome to the channel, I hope you're all doing great. Today's video is going to be fun and hopefully useful for some of you out there, because in this video we're going to take a look at my top 5 favorite lunchbox tube amplifiers for metal. Note that this list is based on my personal opinion and my personal experience. If you don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. Just let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. So small mini tube amp heads or lunchbox amplifiers are very popular these days. They are obviously smaller than the bigger 100 watt heads, and of course because of that they are more portable. They also weigh less, and they tend to have a lower wattage rating, which can be very convenient in various situations. They sound great and very often just as good as the bigger heads in my opinion, and they also tend to cost a lot less than the bigger heads. Now for sound clips of the amplifiers in my list, definitely check out some videos on my channel because I have plenty of them. A good recent high gain comparison would be my One Riff 41 amplifiers video. I'm going to put a link up here and down here as well so you can watch that video. That should give you a good idea of how all the amps sound in a high gain setting. There are many great high gain or metal lunchbox amplifiers out there, and I have quite the collection myself, so without further ado, let's go ahead and check out my top 5. Number 5 on my list is the very popular PRS Mt15 amplifier. This Mark Tremonti signature head by Paul Reed Smith is very popular, and I can see why. The clean tones are great and the high gain tones sound absolutely huge. And a lot of people seem to like the fact that this amplifier has two 6L6 power tubes in the power section, as opposed to the more regular EL84 power tubes. Those are the smaller tubes that you tend to see more often in the smaller amplifiers. Now this amp is loud, and it's quite portable, it's quite compact, but it's not super lightweight. There have been reports out there of a noisy effects loop, which I luckily haven't experienced myself. They cost about 550 euros in Europe, which is quite cheap, and about $750 in the States. This amp doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but each of the two channels does have its own dedicated EQ. And you can switch this amplifier from the full 15 watts to 7 watts, but it won't get very quiet. It's not an amplifier that likes to be played very quietly. Now this amplifier isn't higher on the list, basically because even though the clean and the high gain tones are great, the sort of vintagey crunch tones aren't so great on this one. So it's not the most versatile amp on this list. But like I said, the clean and the high gain tones are amazing, but the high gain tones are not super tight and aggressive. So you may need to use a boost pedal up front if you're into that super tight and aggressive sound. Not that it's not a tight amplifier per se, but it's not as tight as say an EVH amplifier or an Angle Fireball. Those are very tight and aggressive amps by default. Number 4 on my list is the Hughes & Kettner Tubemeister Deluxe 40. In my opinion, this is definitely an often overlooked amplifier. This is a very nice, compact 40 watt 3-channel amplifier, and it has 4 EL84s in the power section. And this amplifier has a clean, a crunch, and a lead channel. And the crunch and lead channels do have a shared EQ, but the clean channel has its own EQ section. I think this amplifier sounds really good, especially the lead channel, which is kind of reminiscent of a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. But definitely with its own flavor and vibe, a little bit more refined I would say. The cleans are really nice, and you can get some nice grit out of that channel as well by boosting the gain. The crunch tones are punchy and bright, kind of like a Marshall, and the lead channel has plenty of gain and chunk to it. Again, not the tightest lead channel, so depending on your taste, you may need to use some pre-EQ or a boost up front to make it sound even more tight and gnarly. This amp also has an effects loop and a red box DI out on the back with speaker simulation. We also have power scaling, silent recording, and MIDI in. This amp works well on lower levels as well as on very loud levels, so it's pretty versatile in that regard. I also really like the shape of the head and the overall look with the blue lights. In Europe, this amplifier retails for around 800 euros, and in the United States, it's about $1,100. A very solid and versatile amp. By the way, check out my full demo and review of this amplifier to get a better idea of what it's capable of. Number 3 on my list is the Mesa Boogie Mini Rectifier 25. What a great little amplifier this is. If you're into that typical Mesa Boogie rectifier sound, this could very well be your number 1, but it's a sound that you either seem to love or hate. Perhaps hate is a very strong word, but a lot of guitarists out there seem very polarized about these amplifiers. Probably because of their scooped and fizzy nature. I myself am a huge rectifier fan though, so this little amplifier is really a treat for me. It's a 25 watt amplifier with two EL84s in the power section. It's pretty darn loud and very compact and small as well. Probably the smallest amplifier in my collection, aside from the orange Micro Terrors. It's a very versatile amplifier as well when it comes to tone. The clean tones are great, it can do pushed cleans, the crunchy tones are great, the rock tones are great, and of course the modern metal tones are typical rectifier as well. The effects loop and the built-in power scaling works very nicely as well. But again, just as with the previous amplifiers, for very tight and focused metal, this amp probably could use a boost up front or maybe a pre-equalizer. But that all depends on your personal taste. I usually tend to shy away from boosts as much as I can, because I tend to prefer the pure and raw amplifier tones. And it may not have enough headroom for you if you're going to play with a super loud drummer, so keep that in mind as well. As opposed to the previous two amplifiers on this list, which are a little bit louder in that regard. And it's not the most affordable amplifier on this list. In Europe it will cost you around 1,500 euros, and in the United States it will set you back at around $1,250. Definitely check out my recent demo and review video for more information and tones. Number 2 on the list is the PV Invective MH. This is a very recent addition to my collection, and it's an amplifier that I really enjoy. This is a sort of modernized version of the 6505 MH, an amplifier that I also own and really enjoy. But the Invective sounds a little bit more refined overall, and it also has a great clean channel with an independent gain, bass and treble control. And the clean channel sounds more modern than on the 6505, and it also has more headroom. What also makes this amplifier great is the addition of the tight, gate and boost switches on the lead channel. Those really allow you to fine-tune the sound of the amplifier so that it sounds just as you need it. Without the boost on, this amp sounds very thick, saturated and meaty, and when you turn on the boost, the amp sounds more focused, tight and aggressive. And the built-in gate can also really help to make this amplifier more silent in between the notes. This amp also has a bunch of great features, such as a direct out with speaker simulation, silent recording, direct recording via USB and stuff like that. It's just a little amplifier that works wonderfully well for modern metal. Now this amplifier is 20 watts and it's equipped with two EL84s in the power section. And do watch my recent comparison with the 6505 MH as well, as that might be interesting for you. Now in Europe this amplifier costs around 720 euros, and in the United States this amp will cost you about $800. And now number 1 on my list, drum roll. Number 1 on my list is the Angle Fireball 25. And this amplifier is just awesome for a bunch of different reasons. The tones are just great and solid, and it's a very versatile and all-round amplifier. The clean tones are nice and sparkly. Push the gain on that channel for a nice grit, and then push the mid boost for an even nicer British crunch. And that's all on the clean channel. The lead channel is typical Angle, full and aggressive but also tight. Not as tight as another very popular Angle lunchbox amp, the Iron Ball, which is very tight, but the slightly more full response of this amplifier does make it more versatile. Now this amplifier has two 6L6 tubes in the power section, just as the PRS Mt15, and it's just a very solid and well-built amplifier overall. And of course we have an effects loop on the back, as well as power scaling and silent recording with a built-in load. And the built-in noise gate is also such a handy feature. I mean, every high gain amp should have a built-in noise gate in my opinion. Now this amplifier is quite loud and you could easily do a gig with this, also a big plus. In Europe, this amplifier costs around 860 euros, and in the States, this amp costs around $1,350. So yeah, in my opinion, this definitely is one of the best, if not the best lunchbox amplifier out there for metal. Some honorable mentions also go to the EVH LBX Stealth. I don't have the LBX Stealth myself, but I do have the LBX1. It's a cool amp that definitely does a great job at capturing those EVH tones at a lower level, and the addition of the clean green channel on the Stealth also seems to be great, and it does make that amplifier a little bit more versatile. Now I didn't put this on my list because that EVH sound is very tight and it's very specific, and that's not something that is easily dialed out. The orange Dark Terror also gets an honorable mention. I would have noted the orange Jim Root Terror, but they don't make that one anymore and they still make the Dark Terror. but I personally prefer the sound of the Jim Root Terror for metal myself. Orange is orange though, and you either hate it or you love it. I love the orange sound, but not for super heavy metal per se. I prefer to use my orange amps for classic rock, heavy rock, and more alternative styles such as grunge. But not that they can't do metal, of course they can. They have plenty of gain. Anyway, great little amps. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are, because I'd love to know. Also, please drop a like and a subscribe along with the notification bell, as that really helps out the channel, so I'd hugely appreciate that. You can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers!